Shit, tonight we're gonna put a 450 fuel pump in a stock FOXBODY hat. Let's go ahead and get to it. And this, my friends, is a 450 Aeromotive fuel pump that we are going to squeeze into a FOXBODY stock fuel tank in this video. For reference, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what we've got in the car right now and what we're putting in there. This is the pump that's currently in the car, and this is what's going in it. So as you can see, there's a huge difference, and we're going to have to do some modifications. So here is the pump that came out. I'll go ahead and show you guys just how tight this is. Everything gets tight right here at the S hose, which can be adjusted. As you can see, that S hose can be kind of tightened up a little bit, the slack taken out of it, and that'll help some. But overall, the bottom of this pump goes in, well, relatively well. How does that compare to our Aeromotive 450? Well, let's check it out. It actually goes in pretty good, right? We know that this will fit down through the hole. As long as this will fit through the hole, everything else will as well. So the best thing to do here is go ahead and just trim this off up here. I know it seems like we're rigging this, and we are to a point, but that's completely understandable when it comes to the world of custom fuel pumps and things along those lines. So that's what we're going to do. And I'll get back to you guys here in just a few minutes to show you exactly what I came up with. So let's stop for a second and talk about what it is that this cage right here does, right? So we have our fuel pump right here, and we have our cage. All that this does is hold your fuel pump in place, just so that it doesn't slide down, okay? That's all this really does. So with that being said, all you really have to do is get about that much engagement and just clamp this thing down pretty hard, and it's not going to go anywhere, guys. It's already pretty much on the bottom of the tank, plus the little S hose, your little S hose right here, is also going to kind of keep it from sliding down as well. This is just stuff that you have to do. We're also going to go in and wire this up differently, okay? So as you can see, our connections right here, yeah, they don't really line up to that. So we can push those in and make them work, but more than likely I'm just going to come up with a custom connection for that. All right, so I'll catch back up with you once all this is done and buttoned up, and I'll show you what we've got. And that's it. That's all you got to do. A bunch of zip ties around it. Do what you got to do, okay, to make this thing work. Don't get so caught up in the fact that, you know, you're using zip ties or you're using hose clamps. Do what you got to do, okay? Obviously, we don't have the S hose on this yet, so the one that I've got was busted. So I'm going to go ahead tomorrow and get a new S hose. But let me go ahead and show you guys how this is going to fit, because it will fit, I promise you. Okay, so here we go. Completely unmodified gas tank. Okay, we're going to slip this thing in. That drops right in. Everything's good. And there she is, guys. That's it. Back when we were doing this in the day with the 03 Cobras, putting twin GT pumps and shit like that in there, you literally had zip ties and hose clamps to hold everything in. It's okay. All right, this thing is not just gonna fall out of the bottom of the cage and rattle around in the tank. It's not, it's gonna be fine. Put your 5 or 6 zip ties around it, whatever you gotta do. Make this work and drop this thing in. The 450 pump will drop right in. I'm gonna go tomorrow, pick up a new S-hose. We'll put this thing on, we'll drop this thing in, and we'll get this car busted off with plenty of fuel for the setup that we got. Catch you guys then. There it is. I forgot to put my gasket on, so just slide that around, hopefully. Yeah, man, that's it. Easy peasy. This thing really probably needs a wiring upgrade, okay? This thing's gonna draw a lot more power than your stock pump or even a 340 pump. Right now at the moment, I'm not really set up to do that, but at some point we'll probably put a relay on this thing and put some custom fittings, because even these fittings right here are really not sufficient. But if you're gonna go that far with it, we may as well go ahead and just upgrade all of this stuff. But for right now, this pump should work off of this. All the connections are good and secure, so, but yes, I'm completely aware that this thing really needs a wiring upgrade. And Neo, if you guys don't know, is big into wiring upgrades, and he'll have my ass about this, but it's fine for right now. We can always go back and do that again later. And always use either some type of brass bar or something like that for your locking ring. Anyway, this thing's in, so let's go ahead, get this back in the car, see if she'll start up. There's also a couple of other things that I want to talk to you guys about as well. So I had a high pressure issue on my car, meaning if you check the gauge at the regulator, this thing was showing like 80 to 90 PSI. So I'm scratching my head. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? This thing should not be making that much PSI. So I took the regulator off and I put my BBK regulator back on. Still, same thing, 80 to 90 PSI. So I'm like, all right, what's going on here? We got some type of voltage spike, something going on with this car, and it's just sending way too much voltage and overspinning this pump. You know, I had all these things go on in my head, trying to figure out what's happening. Long story short, guys, this right here, it was my mistake, but this is why I had a pressure spike. So if you guys are having an overpressure issue and you can't get rid of it and you can't figure it out, more than likely this is it. When I was working on tapping the oil pan, what I did was I pushed these lines back out of the way. And if you look right here, here's your fuel lines coming in, factory lines. And I pushed them out of the way, and you see how that's already starting to like try to kink right there? Well, I pushed these hoses up above the steering rack right here. And when I did, it kinked my hoses right there. Well, the issue was the return hose. It couldn't let the pressure back out, so there you go, guys. And you know what? That's a common problem. You could have accidentally put a jack maybe under the car and crimped like your return line or something along those lines. So check that out. That very well could save some of you at some point. Because look, I looked around for hours trying to figure out what was wrong with it. Never thought about those lines. So I do have to swap out the regulator to go back to our Aeromotive now that I know the regulator is not bad. And I do have to wire up our boost gauge. And by wire up, I mean, you know, the lights and stuff, and hook it up. Well, all right, that's it. There's your 450 pump. It will drop down in your tank. And as you can see, this thing runs fine. Catch you in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching. Okay, so this is basically our first real drive in the Carbon Fox, and we're going to actually be able to see a little bit of boost. We'll probably keep it somewhere around 5 psi just to make sure everything's good. So Matt just sent me a revision, and we're going to be really fat here, okay guys? So I mean, you got to understand that. Also, our plugs aren't gapped. That's for safety measures right now. But other than that, we are ready to start driving the car and tuning. So with that being said, let's go ahead, get on the road, and see where we're at with this thing.